Today, we're going to focus on self-management.
Welcome to the podcast where mental health is at the core of what we focus on. We strive to develop people like you to maximize who you are and what you've been called to do by sharing tools and resources for better brain health. And now here's your host, Juan Garcia.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. We've been talking about emotional intelligence. We established the foundation of this talk. We mentioned motivation. What is it that pushes us and is the inspiration behind what we do and how we do it? And last episode, we talked about self-awareness. How aware are we of our own emotions? And also, how does that play out in terms of the outcome that we want in life, relationally, professionally, etc. So today's focus, self-management, we're going to talk about how do we deal with this responding versus reacting. We know there's a difference, and so how do we best do that so that we can have high emotional intelligence and be good at self-management? There was a research done in the 1960s by a professor from Stanford University. His name is Walter Mischel, and you can look it up. And basically the concept behind the research had to do with delayed gratification. And there were children in this research. They were put in a room by themselves, and in front of them was a piece of marshmallow. And so the whole idea was to see if they would be tempted into eating the marshmallow before they were supposed to, or they would wait, meaning delayed gratification. So the person would have the child in the room, the marshmallow was in front of them, and would tell them, this marshmallow is here, it's for you, but if you wait until I come back, I'll have a second one and you can have both of them. But if you eat this one, you cannot have the second one. So it's a really cool research. Basically, 2/3 of the children that were put through this research failed, meaning they could not wait, they ate the marshmallow and could not benefit from a second marshmallow. And the really cool thing about the research is that 30 years later, Professor Mischel and his team followed up with all of those kids that were part of the research, and the 2/3 of those that had been tempted and had the marshmallow and could not wait, they were interviewed and questions were asked, and it was astonishing to see that they were struggling with their academics, they were struggling with their life in general, their professional life, career-wise. They were struggling with some addictions and some issues that obviously affected their lives and those close to them. Whereas the 1/3 that did delay their gratification, they scored higher in SATs. They had more social and economic benefits in terms of their high capacity to fulfill their professional careers as well as their families. And it's just amazing what something like self-management or discipline can do to life. That's why this is important, and that's why I feel that it's now more than ever we should be talking about these things, because self-management is a skill that can be taught, it can be learned. It's not something that is dependent on your socio-economical status or economic status. These are skills that you can actually learn, and obviously someone would have to mention these things to you, but I'm hoping that this podcast can provide some of those tools to help you with self-management, because at the end of the day, you can have all of the qualifications, whether it's academics, even some of the skills, trade skills, some of the things that you need to have a specific job, an occupation, and be good at it. But if you're not good at self-management, sooner or later it's going to catch up and it's going to reflect on your ability to fulfill the actual responsibility that you're being asked to do. So this is super, super important. I don't want these episodes or this topic of emotional intelligence to be looked upon as, well, I'm not an emotional mess, so this doesn't apply to me. It's much deeper than that. There's much more that we're going to cover in these different quadrants as we talked about emotional intelligence. It's not just about being either too emotional or not emotional enough. It's about not only the awareness, but what are you doing to manage these emotions? Because we all have them. We all have emotions. We all have different types of emotions, and they all come up in different scenarios. And sometimes it's almost like they feel like they sneak up on us, that we don't expect to feel what we feel. I know there's times where I have shared, or I have been with people that have shared, where either a song or a commercial or a title of some song, something did something to them emotionally, where they either were overcome with joy, overcome with sadness, and they say to themselves, like, I don't even know where that came from. That's why we have to be not only aware, but know how to manage these things. Managing your emotions are super important for so many different reasons, and mainly they affect the outcome of our life, whether it's on a personal level, professional level, however it may be. It can get the best of us, and sometimes we share it on social media for the world to know how pissed off we are, and how we feel of whether it's an injustice or something that's not right. So even though you have an emotion and you're aware of it, it's important how you manage it, because not everything you feel you have to share. Not everything you feel the world needs to know about it. Sometimes the feelings that we have are for us to have an introspection, a moment to reflect, and be it what it may, that's probably what is going to serve for us to have that reflective moment. And we can journal, we can write it down, and we can connect the purpose of that emotion to our life. But in this world that we live in today, everybody wants to put everything out. Twitter, and even on LinkedIn now, which is supposed to be a professional platform for work and for networking, everybody's commenting on everybody's post, and so we just have to make sure that we're managing our emotions in a healthy way. So some notes I wrote down that I want to share with you as it relates to how to best manage emotions. Well, first, keep in mind that emotional intelligence has everything to do with having a compass, right? We get in a car, and if we don't know how to get to a certain specific address, we usually have some type of GPS apparatus that will guide us, will tell us where to go, where to turn, where to what highway, what direction really to go. And emotional intelligence serves that for us as a compass. It tells us where to go. When we are aware of how we feel, we manage it. That is the direction in which we should be going with what we're feeling. And the more we are aware of that, the more we know of that, the best outcome we will experience and those around us. And remember, this can happen at any moment, at any given time, in any given situation or scenario. And so the higher EQ we have, the best outcome we will experience and those around us when it happens. So 3 quick things that I want to share with you that I feel can help to manage self or manage emotions best. And the first one is sleep on it. Sometimes we just need to sleep on it. I know we've heard this, maybe our parents, someone mentoring us, someone close to us, someone at work or in school. They said, man, you got to sleep on that, man. Don't react, don't respond, just chill. And this is actually really, really good, because it gives us time to really process, especially if it's something that either we feel that hurt us or that angered us. It is usually best to sleep on it. In fact, in the world of psychology, we are taught that before we have to make any big decision, we should halt. And that word halt means to stop, right? But we also use it as an acronym. And basically, we remind ourselves that when we have to make a big decision, we should halt. We should never make a decision, especially a big one, if we are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. That is the word HALT in its acronym format. Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. We should never make a huge decision, an important decision, when one of those four things is evident in our lives. So sleep on it. Take that time to really think about it, because you don't want to make a decision when you're angry. You don't. You usually don't make the best decision. Even if you're right, and even if what you say is true, it may not be the best way to do it. And so make sure that you sleep on it. Second thing that I think will help is emotions versus reason. And there's two questions that you can ask yourself within this category. Where is emotion clouding my judgment? So if you're angry, if you feel like you've been hurt, or you're tired and you just need to rest, but you feel like you still need to deal with something, ask yourself, where is your emotion, whatever emotion that is, and it could be a positive emotion. It doesn't always have to be anger or frustration. It could be you're feeling good, you had a very good conversation with somebody, and they're asking you something, and because you feel good, you want to kind of please them, or you want to give them the answer that they want, or you feel they want. Sleep on it. Sleep on it. Make sure you're thinking it through, and then ask yourself, where is this emotion potentially obstructing my judgment or affecting my judgment? And then you invert it. So emotion versus reason. Where is possibly emotion affecting my judgment? And then you invert it and you say, where is reason or common sense potentially obstructing or hindering my emotion? In other words, is my practical common sense thinking, my reason, blocking the emotion that I should be feeling about this situation? Because both are important. Your emotion and your reason have to get along, have to be hand in hand, walking with you and alongside of you into the different situations. You don't want to negate one for the other. You have to use them both so that you can have the best outcome in your self-management situations. So you sleep on it, then you verify emotion versus reason, and then thirdly, visualization. We used this exercise back in the beginning of the podcast. I believe it was when we were talking about unconscious bias, things of that nature. But visualization could be, used in different methods. But one of the ways that I would use it in this specific area of self-management is envision the outcome that you want. Visualize yourself with the outcome that you want. No, not slapping her upside the head or him upside the head. I know you're thinking, no, they deserve it. They need a good whooping. They need a good slap upside the head because, da. And you have all this reason. Okay. But we know that is going to result into other issues that you don't want. So when you visualize clearly, right? After you've done the exercise of emotions versus reason and you've come to a good conclusion, a balanced conclusion, then you visualize and you say, what is the outcome that I want out of this? What is the healthiest thing that I can see coming out of this? Now you're probably saying, well, how am I going to do all that? I got to sleep on it. That means that's one night. Because sometimes that's what gets us in trouble. We don't take the time to reflect, to examine, to sit on things, to really process things, because we go back to the marshmallow story, right? We don't like to delay gratification, and gratification can be positive or negative. In the case of the marshmallow, the positive was the marshmallow. It feels good, and then the person is satisfied because either they had a sweet tooth or it just tastes good. But a negative gratification can be when you want someone to pay for what they've done if it was bad, and so you wish that they can get what they deserve. So that's negative gratification. And at times, that is not the solution. That doesn't help anyone. That just gives you the gratification that you want. So you want to make sure that you visualize the best possible outcome that you want of the situation. And I will say this, and I wrote this down. Don't act out the reaction. Determine the best outcome for the situation. Do what you need to do to bring about the best outcome. So stop and consider what is the best outcome for this, and make sure that you make that decision after you've processed all that. Very, very, very important. I will say there's a great book that I read earlier this year by H.A.L.T, and I could put it in the show notes in the box below. It's called Indistractable. And I read it. It was suggested for my reading, and phenomenal book. And so in this book, Indistractable, he talks a lot about inner triggers and external triggers, or internal triggers and external triggers. And I wrote one of his quotes down because I loved it. He says, master your internal triggers. Right? And the only way you know that is, first, self-awareness. So you need to master, to be indistractable, you need to master your internal triggers, and then you can hack back to your external triggers. Hack back your external triggers. And obviously that term hack is a techie term, which is his expertise. But basically he is saying the more aware you are of what triggers you internally, you will be able to master that, because you'll know what it is that is triggering you to do what you know you shouldn't do. And then you hack back the external triggers, because now you become indistractable. You realize what's internally trying to get you to respond or to reply, and now you know what it is. You recognize it from afar. So now when external triggers start to try to, distract you, like social media, notification, what you know what you got to do? You got to adjust your notifications. You got to make sure that there's times where you turn it off. There's times where you're not being dinged or binged or tinged, whatever it is. You have to make sure that you are in control of that. Someone once said that children now are being born learning how to swipe before they wipe. Think about that. Babies are being born with iPads in the nurseries, in the hospitals. I'm exaggerating just a little bit, but I'm sure that's coming soon somewhere, because we are human beings that are triggered internally and externally. We have things that stimulate us. And so we have to be aware of what it is that is stimulating us. And if it's not conducive to good behavior or emotional intelligence, then we need to stop those stimulations. We need to turn them off, and we need to recognize them for what they are. Okay? So make sure that you are aware, you master your internal triggers, and you hack back at external triggers. And I'll leave you with this. Always know that you are in control of you. You can't control others. You can't control what people say or what people do. But you can control how you respond. And you want to make sure that you're making the difference or the differentiation between responding and reacting. And here's how you do that. Reaction is, I do the first thing that I think about, or I say the first thing that comes to mind. Responding is, I am aware of what I'm thinking about. I am aware of the words that I want to say, but I choose to delay that. And that's a gratification. I choose to delay that gratification of doing or saying what I want to say or want to do because of how I feel. I delay that to do and say what I know is best, considering the circumstance. When you do that, you are emotionally intelligent, and you can overcome any circumstance and any situation. Is that easy? Heck no. It's hard work, because not only do you have to be aware of self and manage self, but you have to deal with people. You have to deal with issues that are outside of you. And what I'm saying is, the more you do it for yourself in terms of self-awareness and self-management, the easier it'll become for you to deal with the circumstances around you that you can't control, and that you ultimately just have to respond the best way possible for not only yourself, but everyone around you. So that's why we call this podcast Mind Yours, because you want to make sure that you understand that the key to mental health is minding yours first.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast. For more information, visit our website at juangarciaenterprises.com. Our host, Juan Garcia, is available for speaking, coaching, and one-on-one counseling. You can email us at info@juangarciaenterprises.com. Until next time, remember, we only have one mind, so mind yours.